Well, number 3, I have Bob Newhart.
Bob Newhart.
Yeah.
I love Bob Newhart, but he's not on my list. He was on my top 10.
Okay, let me make the case for Bob Newhart, okay? Bob Newhart had maybe one of the most legendary ascents in the history of show business, in that they record his first nightclub performances. That's the first time ever in a nightclub, down in Houston at Tidelands. They make a record of it. They put it out. It goes to number 1, the first number 1 stand-up album in the history of the entertainment industry.
Right.
It's number 1 for 14 weeks.
Damn.
Number 1. Okay, I'm not done. I'm not done making my case for Bob Newhart out of Chicago. All right, so no stand-up album has ever been number 1 for 14 weeks, before or since, okay? I'm talking about emerging.
Right.
Then, you know what happened at the Grammy Awards. Not only does he win Record of the Year, which is not that album, it's his next album wins Record of the Year, but that album, Button Down Mine, wins Album of the Year, beating out the music acts. So it would be like today if Jim Gaffigan beat out Beyonce for Album of the Year.
I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Right.
Just let that sink in. It wouldn't even be fathomable. It's not even And so for those reasons alone, and I agree, like he as a he worked as a stand-up during the 60s doing those things, but he wasn't, the follow-up albums weren't quite the same level. And he really is, I think, more famous for being a sitcom actor than for a stand-up, to tell you the truth.
Right.
In the 70s.
Hello?
But that debut, it's unprecedented.
But,
and
yeah.
I can't wait to see who you have above this guy.
Willard, I have the manual right here in front of me. Now describe the thing to me. Yeah, it sounds like a torpedo of some kind, Willard. It's probably one of ours. Are there any markings on it? Made in Japan. It still could be one of ours, Willard.
Well, at first I want to say I love Bob Newhart, and I think like he broke so much ground, the telephone style of comedy, which I don't know if
He wasn't
Shelley.
the first.
Yes. Do you know if Shelley Berman was always mad at him forever, or did they ever? Because
I think Shelley Berman was upset about it.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing: Shelley Berman didn't invent that style. That style was predated both those guys. But Shelley Berman did hit a year before Bob Newhart's did.
Right, yeah.
I know I called you. I don't know what was on my mind. Well, okay, so long. Thanks for calling.
But then Newhart did he already have a buzz? How did his record get so popular? Because he came out of nowhere, right? In the comedy world.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Was like a local guy in Chicago doing radio bits with a partner, and then broke up with that guy, and it was just complete luck and the right. But really, if you think about that material, the Button Down Mine. So all of his jokes, excuse me a sec, I'm eating as we're doing this.
Oh.
Sorry. All of his jokes, a lot of his jokes are about what would happen if we used modern advertising back in the old days, back when baseball or for tobacco.
Right.
So we would put modern ethos into historic events, and it was just great. And then also the driving instructor, like he just had an innate sense of how to do it. He's the opposite of, who's that guy? Malcolm Gladwell. Do you know that book called, it's about you need to do 10,000 hours to be good at something.
And the answer seems to be, it's an extraordinarily consistent answer in an incredible number of fields, and that is you need to have practiced, to have apprenticed for 10,000 hours before you get good.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever that book is called.
Right. I know what you're talking about.
So he's like the opposite of that. Like he got it right away.
It was like his first time ever. It wasn't his first time doing stand-up, but it was his first time.
It was the first time in a nightclub doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Yep.
The flagship of the Swedish Freighter Company, and through the driving rain and the high seas, I can just barely make out the solitary figure of the captain, an heroic human being against a vast and angry sea. Get me off this lousy boat!
That's crazy, right?
And he was an opening act. He was the opening act at the Tidelands. He wasn't even like, no one knew who he was, and they, most of the recordings went terrible, and the late one night he just caught fire.
How fast were you going when Mr. Adams jumped from the car? 75? And where was that? In your driveway. How far had Mr. Adams gotten in the lesson? Backing out.
It was just a convergence, almost like, I'm not going to compare it to the Beatles, but something just like, oh, this is how we want our comedy now. And there was, God, what is the comedian's name? Oh, Joey Bishop.
That hurts. I don't know how she stands the pain.
Oh yeah.
Joey Bishop was who slugged it out for years in these nightclubs. You can imagine, you work governors, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So those clubs are even worse than comedy clubs, those nightclubs. So years of finally getting an act and doing that, and then all of a sudden there's a kid who's like, I don't even know if it's that Bob Newhart act would work in a regular nightclub with people drinking, So they were all jealous of him, and they couldn't do it our way. And I was like, yeah, guess what? A new way of comedy was created.
Listen, how are things coming on the plane? At Kitty Hawk last week, how'd it go? 105 feet, huh? That's all. Do the 12 guys still have to push it down the hill? They do, huh? Well, see, that's going to cut our time to the coast. I mean, if we got to land every 105 feet.
Like you said earlier, I'm sorry I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
No, this is great. I love hearing this. And throughout your career, do you ever get a chance to meet him, Bob Newhart?
Not only have I met him, I've written for him.
Wow.
I used to write award shows, and he was on one, so I wrote some stuff for him. And then when I did this is going to sound like I'm bragging, so I really apologize. When I did the Tonight Show, he contacted me because he saw my set and loved it. Because I do very clean kind of stuff that would be in his wheelhouse.
I liked the name Wayne until the 4th grade when my teacher was like, Wayne is also a word. I go, I did not know that. She goes, yeah, it's a verb. I go, what does it mean? Like to run or to play? She's like, oh, no. It means to diminish slowly over time.
Yeah.
And then later he hired me to work on some old comedy bits of his that needed updating.
Wow, man.
I couldn't believe it. And I just, so I have his home number. I have Bob Newhart's home number.
Wow.
It's so stupid.
That's great, man. That's fantastic.
Very lucky, very lucky.
Bob Newhart is definitely one of the greats of our time.
But apparently not a top 5 for you.
We'll call you back as soon as we have an opening. No, don't call us. We'll call you.